Genre, et bien sûr, comme les producteurs, c'est bien connu, sont là avant tout le monde. Et bien ce soir, ce grand producteur oscarisé, bien sûr, Titanic ne fait pas exception. Il est là avant ses équipes pour vous parler tout de suite à vous qui êtes là. Mesdames et messieurs, je vous demande d'accueillir un immense producteur, le producteur évidemment de ALITA ce soir, Jon Landau. Voilà, Jon, as I said, producers always come first. So
I think producers always come last, which is the way it should be. We're here, I'm here, lucky enough to be here because I stand on the shoulders of so many others. I think, you know, what you saw tonight is a result of an incredible team of people that we're lucky enough to have who worked on ALITA to create what I believe is a truly unique cinematic experience.
Merci Jon. Alors, vous avez tous, pour vous qui n'êtes pas, certains ne sont peut-être pas totalement bilingues, vous savez que cette rencontre se fait exclusivement en anglais, donc pour certains vous avez bien sûr les traductions à l'oreille. Thank you Jon. Please sit wherever you want, this is your turf tonight almost. Well, Jon, first of all, thank you very much for being with us. I mean, we know you set the bar pretty high when you produce a film. Small films, Titanic, Avatar, you're now even producing sequels, it's many sequels, so thank you for being here. I mean, basically, the first question that really, comes to mind, so to speak, like, what did you find so exciting, but also so challenging about producing this passion film that had inhabited James Cameron's brains for so many years?
Well, Jim Cameron and I first learned of ALITA through our friend Guillermo del Toro. Guillermo introduced us to ALITA in 1999. Jim, at the time, was a parent of a young teenage daughter. I was a parent of two teenage boys, or young boys. And we just saw in ALITA a character that could be inspirational for youth everywhere, no matter what the gender is. A story of an innocent girl who comes into the world, and you heard it tonight where she says, I'm just an insignificant girl. How many of us at some point in our lives have thought of ourselves as insignificant? But she goes on to discover that inside of her is the ability to become a hero. And we thought that was a great message for the next generation, that inside of each one of us is that ability.
Well, as he's not here yet, so we can talk about it. I mean, it would be delicate others maybe to do so before, but what made you think, after all these years, and as it was supposed to always be a James Cameron's film, what made you pick, of all directors, you could have had any director, what made you pick Robert Rodriguez?
That happened very fortuitously at a social lunch that Jim and Robert had. And Jim was telling Robert about the 4 Avatar sequels we're making and how long that's going to be. And Robert said to Jim, well, if that's the case, what happens to movies like ALITA? And it was at the end of a 3-hour lunch. And Jim said, you have 15 more minutes. And Robert said, sure. And Jim showed him an art reel that we had created in 2005 that was a short version of the movie. And Robert fell in love with it. Jim gave him a script that Jim had written. It was too long. It was 186 pages, and gave him 600 pages of notes. And he said to Robert, if you can crack this, you can direct the movie. And Robert brought us back 4 months later, the script, and we didn't miss anything. All of the heart that Jim had written in the script, all the character work was still there, and that told us that Robert saw the movie the same way we did, and we felt that we could partner with him to parent our child, ALITA, together.
Well, let's now welcome the man we just talked about, the director behind, not at all, but many things, Robert Rodriguez. He's here tonight with us as well, director of ALITA, and what a job he did. Please come and meet us talking about you, but we didn't want you to blush too much. Thank you, Robert, for being with us tonight, really. Well, you can sit next to your producer, for instance, and of course they're here with us tonight as well. Christoph Waltz, good to see you. Dr. Dyson, I know. Christoph Waltz, vous êtes également l'honneur d'être avec nous ce soir à Paris. Christophe, et bien sûr, celle qui incarne ALITA, que vous venez de découvrir ce soir, Rosa Salazar. C'est incroyable, ALITA. This lady is alive on the road. Thank you so much also for making the trip to Paris. On high heels too, you're brave. Welcome.
Bonsoir.
Well, we were discussing earlier with Jon, how it all came about a little bit for you, Robert, to step into the project, and we were talking about the challenges. But personally, your challenges, whether creatively, technically, or even the thought of stepping into James Cameron's shoes, what were you the most exciting or the most daunting challenges facing you?
Everything you mentioned was definitely on my mind. It was exciting, daunting, challenging. But I always believe that, when you are faced with a challenge that feels like it's beyond your capabilities, then you're on the right track, because it's going to take you to a different place. So I was eager to try my hand in trying to make something on the level that Jim usually does, and Jon, these big movies that appeal to people all over the world because it has a really great central message and characters and stories that has a great mix of truth and spectacle, because the spectacle is why you go to the movies, but really the heart of the film is so strong in their films. I wanted to learn how to do that, and I knew with someone like Jim Cameron as a mentor and Jon as a producer that we could that I could get much closer to accomplishing that with them than on my own, for sure.
Well, you were always, a big fan of Yukito Kishire's work. But I'm turning now to your actors, and I was wondering what, Rosa, what, Christoph, what inspired you most about the project? How did you make these iconic characters your own? What did you tap into to be these characters? Rosa, ladies first.
Oh, thank you. Well, I love the script. The script was beautiful. And I love the story of ALITA. I love the fact that in the beginning of the story, she is someone who feels quite insignificant. And by going on a journey inward, she discovers that she's not insignificant at all, that she actually is quite extraordinary and has the ability to change her life and possibly the lives of many, many, many others. So I like that. That inspired me.
What about you? How did you get, in a way, into the Dr. Dyson character? How did you make it your own? What inspired you about him?
I don't know. But what's inspiring about this whole thing? It's a big story. So many answers, so many details. They all ring true. They all drive the story. They all happen. They all energize the story, energize you as a viewer, and therefore, why should I exclude my little self?
But I think the incredible thing that Christoph does, and I'll say this with him in the room, he grounds the story in a reality. Here we have an ALITA character that we've used computer-generated effects to create her performance, but Christoph, grounds this movie in a reality that is relatable. We've all either been on one side or the other, or both sides of parenthood, and he represents a very relatable character with this second chance at fatherhood.
Évidemment, initier votre rencontre. Les questions sont à vous. N'hésitez pas, des micro-passes. Please, have your questions ready. Or I can go on. Any, because I can't see you well. Yes, please, a question there.
Bonjour, alors super film, et j'avais une question surtout par rapport au manga. Est-ce que, alors en fait, c'était au niveau déjà du choix du nom. J'ai été un peu étonné que ça s'appelle ALITA et non Gali comme dans le manga. Et le deuxième choix que j'ai trouvé étonnant mais intéressant, c'était le fait que vous parliez qu'elle devienne une héros en fait, une héroïne. Et dans le manga, c'était vraiment centré sur le fait qu'une cyborg est plus humaine que certains humains en fait. Et je voudrais, voilà, c'est ma question finale. Pourquoi ce choix?
Well, it's a question really about, I mean, going back to the manga, so to speak. I mean, you make two choices that seem, in a way, to differ from the manga. One is ALITA. In the original, you know, she was called Gal. Now, you also said that, well, you know, in the film, she really turns into a heroine. I mean, she becomes the hero. In the manga, it's more what's said is that some cyborgs, in a way, are more human than human.
I'll just start, you know, by addressing that. You know, we've talked, the three of us, we were just doing some stuff. This is a movie about what does it mean if you're human? Do you need a physical body that's human? Do you need, you know, a heart? Do you need a brain? Do you have a soul? It's a consciousness. And I think, you know, we held true to what Kishiro created. And one of my big thrills just happened, you know, 2 days ago when I flew to Tokyo before coming to Paris, and I screened the movie for Kishiro. And his reaction to it was that he said to me, "You lived up to the promise of staying true to my work, not doing the Hollywood version, but doing the cinematic version." And that was one of the big thrills for me.
Question. Là-bas, s'il vous plaît. N'hésitez pas à
Bonsoir.
If you want to stand up.
Oui, bonsoir. J'avais une question concernant l'embargo qu'il y a eu sur les critiques. Est-ce que la production est au courant et le réalisateur? Qu'est-ce que vous en pensez? Et qu'est-ce que vous en dites? Est-ce que c'est qu'en France ou c'est ailleurs aussi?
So it seems there was an embargo on critics. Is it something that is usually done, or is it only done in France? Or what do you think about this, giving critics an embargo date?
I think every movie has an embargo date, you know, and ours internationally is established with when we do our world premiere later this week in London on the 31st. And it's not unusual, it's something standard, and it comes from the studios, just so everything drops at the same time. The way the cycles work, we'll oftentimes screen for one critic 2 weeks early, another critic a week later, and if they're just dropping their reviews randomly, it's not beneficial for anybody.
Avoiding spoilers too. Question here. Please stand up.
Oui, bonsoir. Juste une question à propos du méchant qu'on voit de manière très rapide. Il ressemble à un réalisateur connu qui a réalisé notamment Titanic et Avatar. Je voulais savoir si c'était fait exprès et ce que ça signifiait en fait.
It seems there is a villain who briefly appears in your picture that seems to have the face of the same director who did, you know, Titanic, Avatar. Was it just an impression of this gentleman, or did you actually do a villain with James' face and body?
So are you talking? Yeah. So you mean the Ed Norton character? No, that's just Ed Norton. He just happens to look uncanny.
But it also, if you're familiar with the manga, I mean, the whole design of the Nova character had that sort of hair and everything that people think of with Jim. Jim now has very short hair, but the spear, I could see people, you know, thinking that.
All right, question here, please. Can you stand up?
Bonsoir. Alors moi j'ai une question pour Rosa. Les scènes de combat, est-ce que c'était vous? Est-ce que vous avez suivi un entraînement spécial pour ces scènes qui, by the way, sont sublimes?
Well, it's a question for you, Rosa. I mean, it's about the combat scenes, which, by the way, are terrific. I mean, what kind of training, if any, you have to go through to do that on screen?
I did 5 months of exhaustive martial arts training. It was pure agony. I did a mélange of martial arts. We did some Muay Thai, we did some staff fighting, some eagle claw, some kickboxing to get my endurance up. I didn't want to do 2 kicks and then be winded for the rest of the day. It was arduous because in the process, some days you go in and you are making progress and you feel really powerful and cool, and then the next day you go in and you're absolute shit. I was faced with my limitations almost every day, but I pushed through them, and so what the effect of that was, I was not only training my body for ALITA, I was also training my mind almost by accident. So yes, it was an uphill battle. For me, I'm small and I'm fit and I'm active, but it takes a lifetime to accomplish some of those moves. So,
you know, we accomplished Rosa's character through performance capture. And I've heard Rosa talk about that process from her perspective, how it was not cumbersome, that it ultimately freed her up. I've never asked you, Christoph, playing scenes opposite someone who is not in a costume, is not dressed in the period. What was that like for you as an actor playing opposite? Did it change anything?
Nothing whatsoever. It's always Rosa.
Answer. Always Rosa.
did you get your answer?
I got my answer.
He's hijacking your Q&A, so.
That's all right.
Get
You
used
can
to
do
it.
anything you want.